Now let me cross live to Seoul now. Mr. Choi, first of all, how does the Republic of Korea look at the seriousness of this test firing?
Excuse me again?
Yes, how do you in the Republic of Korea think about the seriousness of this test firing by the DPRK?
Well, it is very much provocative and dangerous posture against South Korea, because now South Korea has some domestic turmoil, political turmoil actually, but we need some kind of stabilized the environment. But unfortunately, North Korea test fired the medium-range missiles. That is not good news from North Korea.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Republic of Korea, together with Japan and the United States, have called for this urgent meeting at the UN Security Council. This is quite an unusual move and actually quite a high-profile response to the test firing of the missile by the DPRK. What do you want to achieve with that call?
Well, first of all, yesterday's North Korea's missile launch is highly advanced one. If we analyze North Korea's missile technology, first of all, North Korea missile launch uses solid fuel. That is another advanced technology. And second of all, their range a little bit more bigger and larger. So last year's SLBM launch is less than provocative. That recent the launch is very provocative. That's why the three countries has asked UN Security Council has an emergency meeting.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm joined by Mr. Douglas Paal, the Vice President for Studies at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace in Washington. Mr. Paal, thank you for joining me now. So how do you look at the seriousness? How much provocation do you think the DPRK has aroused by test firing this latest missile on Sunday?
Well, given that the leader of North Korea has said he wanted to launch an intercontinental ballistic missile, we kind of thought that would be one of the early tests. This is less overtly provocative, but still within the scale of being provocative. I think it's important to remember that several things are going on. One, there's a new administration in Washington, which to a certain degree is being tested by these provocations through testing missiles, or perhaps even an upcoming nuclear test. Secondly, we have politics in South Korea which have heated up. There's an election coming probably in June, uncertain yet the precise date. And he has to choose, Kim Jong-un has to choose how much he wants to provoke the US new government and how much he wants to provoke the voters in South Korea.
Now, China has just given its response 24 hours after the DPRK test fired this latest missile. Actually, China's response has been quite measured, as we heard at the beginning program. China called for all sides to exercise restraint, and China said it will take a responsible role. Mr. Paal, how do you look at China's response this time? Do you think China is reacting more strongly, or has taken a consistently cautious move?
I don't think it's more strong in response. This is a very delicate moment. The new administration in Washington is not together yet. I imagine the Chinese authorities are aware that the new team in the White House has asked the bureaucracy to come up with a full range of options for North Korea. They're far from having that review completed. Moreover, the key people in jobs in the state and defense departments and elsewhere in the US government are not in place. So to have a crisis before the U.S. is ready is highly risky. Bad outcomes can result in directions toward peace or towards war. And so I think everybody needs to calm down and take a breath. And if that's what the Chinese authorities are doing with this calmer reaction to this latest provocation, that's probably a wise course.
Now, the most recent UN resolution over the DPRK nuclear issue was adopted unanimously last November by the UN Security Council. Following this latest urgent meeting at the UN Security Council, are we expecting to see another round of condemnation in the form of a resolution from the Security Council? Mr. Choi, I would like to hear your insight on this.
Yes, I think there will be another tougher United Nations Security Council resolution demanding all the United Nations member countries to participate in secondary boycott. If this resolution will be held, then that will be a tougher measure against North Korea.
Well, I think
previously, whenever North Korea launched a missile, there is no particular resolution. Only resolution come up when North Korea tested nuclear bomb. But this time is, I think, a little bit different from previous years.
Well, indeed, it has aroused a lot of concern, but let's take a look at the technical side of this launch. Although this launch was 500 kilometers in distance, it had a really high, high arc, reaching 500 kilometers into the air. What did the DPRK try to say? What message did it try to say by doing such a move? It could have sent the missile a bit longer and further away, giving a stronger message maybe, but why was it so cautious in sending it just 500 kilometers? Mr. Paal, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, this is not the first time where they've tested in altitude rather than range, and that is a way of signaling to all of our neighboring countries in the U.S. that they have the capacity to achieve the range of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers, but they've chosen not to exercise it so that they wouldn't be, for example, sending the missile across the territorial waters or territory of Japan, which would trigger defense measures by Japanese and U.S. forces in Japan. So I think they're trying to find a way of sending a belligerent message and also not cross red lines that could lead to a much higher risk than they are contemplating now. I would add to that the North Korean testing has been very consistent over the last year. They seem to be in pursuit of some outcomes in the testing. They have new engines, they have capacity to build an ICBM, but they have not tested the second and third stages yet. So I think a lot of this is related to the development of the program and is going ahead because science and testing require it, as opposed to the other considerations like crossing territorial lines and provoking international reactions at the UN.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have to leave it there. Joining us was Douglas Paal from the United States and Mr. Choi from Seoul. Thank you for joining us.